Hey guys, welcome back to Set of Sessions. Today I bring back Paul Rafelson. How you doing?
I'm well, sir. How are you?
Yes, good. Haven't seen you since Set of Sessions live. Again, thank you for coming over and helping a lot of the delegates there. And you picked up a few tabs, so I'm sure I owe you some money there for the fact that
Absolutely not. It's not. It wasn't even about that. It was just great to be there, and I love going to events like that. And it was definitely probably one of my favorite sessions of events I've been to this year, and probably in Amazon world ever. It was just really great. The spirit of it was a lot of fun, but it was really informative as well. I was really impressed by the content, even as a former seller who hasn't been in the game for a long time. I just could really tell that it was really good stuff, and it was a good vibe and a lot of fun, and everybody seemed to really be having a great time. So
yeah,
thanks for letting me be part of that. I appreciate that.
not at all, not at all. I mean, there's a big break at the moment. Obviously, we know you for doing a lot of the stuff, fighting against sales tax and everything else. But you've just had a bit. Is it? Should we call it legislation? It's just passed.
Yeah, so it's still going through a process, but it's got an overwhelming amount of support, and we're positive that something will come out of it. It may not be the latest version, but yeah, it's new legislation in California that's designed to protect sellers. I mean, this is sort of the first go at sort of what the EU has tried to do in terms of offering protection for marketplace sellers. They're recognizing that
Yeah,
Amazon does have sort of an unfair advantage over the sellers, and certainly uses that advantage, and as a result, there's a lot of unfairness. And this is trying to sort of legislate some of that fairness back in, which is, for me, really, I'm really happy about it, because to me, that's really what the purpose of Online Merchants Guild is.
yeah,
It's to basically push that agenda of fairness in the marketplace for the sellers, because there's just been no representation, no advocacy, nobody out there sort of, explaining who we are, why things are important, why things need to be fixed. And, tax was always, to me, just sort of a starting point. That's not what OMG is, not a tax org. I think tax will be fixed. It's already getting fixed as we go. And the question is, well, where do we go from here? Do we disband the guild and just say, okay, well, we've done our job with taxes one day and that's it? Or do we keep going? Or do we keep influencing?
yeah,
Do we keep fighting? And my hope is the latter.
yeah.
And I think this is a great example of what we can do.
hmm So, should we pick this apart? Just go step by step. So, this has been published just recently. You've got the documentation here. So, should we? Do you want to give them a quick overview, and then we'll go bit by bit through this documentation?
Yeah, and it's changing, and it will change again, I'm sure. But this, went through a major milestone in the legislative process in California, passing overwhelmingly in the Senate Judiciary Committee, with a lot of support, both from outside organizations who are interested in seeing fairness. We've found a lot of allies who share our interest. Major union organizations have actually been super supportive of wanting to see fairness. I think they feel that, the way in which we're treated is giving Amazon an unfair advantage in their competitive market space, and they don't like that. So, you find your allies where you can.
hmm
And so this has gone through the Judiciary Committee. It will eventually have to go back to the Senate, and basically, we're optimistic that something will come out of it. It won't be perfect. This is the first of its kind. It's the first time, but it's a start, and it's a template and a model to kind of continue on with other states, potentially federal legislation across the U.S. We just, you got to start somewhere. This is sort of that start.
Yeah. So, should we kick off from Title 1.4c, Clarity of Marketplace?
Yeah, so it's the Clarity of Marketplace Terms and Conditions and Dispute Resolution Minimum Fairness bill. And basically it starts off with just requiring those terms and conditions to be written in plain English that people understand and can read. We always sign up for things like iTunes or Seller Central, and it's just click through a maze of terms and conditions that don't make a lot of sense. A lot of sellers are surprised to find out that they oftentimes waive legal rights when they sign up for Seller Central. So first thing is that we want that to be much clearer. So there's going to be a requirement to use plain English language, and so that way sellers will actually take the time to read and understand what is going on.
Yeah.
So it's again, it's a starting point. It's just, I think it's just important people know what they're signing up for.
So what does point two here, is easily available online for marketplace sellers at all stages of their commercial relationship with the marketplace. What does that actually mean?
It just basically means that anybody can read it, even
Yeah.
if you're not a seller yet.
Okay.
It's,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
it's nothing to,
I didn't know if it's preferential treatment from, new sellers to 7, 6, 7, 8 figure sellers, but no,
well, that's what they're trying to avoid. They want it to be, everybody can just go online and read it, which, I mean, really you can do today. I mean, that is, but they just want to make that clear that it's available for everybody. So it's certainly prior to the formation of a contract is key, because you want to know prior to formation is probably the key, because a lot of times what happens is these things change, and so you want to make sure that these people, that you're notified of changes to the terms and conditions prior to the change, right?
Yeah.
So you have the ability to opt out. So like if one day Amazon puts out a clause that says we're going to steal your ideas and there's nothing you can do about it, you'd like to know that before you agree.
Yeah,
you want
no worries.
You want to be able to opt out. So
makes sense. And number 3, set out the grounds for decisions to retain or refuse to disburse funds as it's a possession belonging to a marketplace seller pending investigation or resolution of a dispute between the marketplace and the marketplace seller. Seller and the objective grounds for suspending or terminating a marketplace seller for participating in the marketplace. So basically what this is transparency. I'm imagining for you get suspended, you need to know why and all the parameters around it, because often we fill out or we complete a POA, we're reading between the lines. Amazon wants us to, when they suspend us, they want us to know that we know what's happening and what our root causes are and what we're going to do to change that. So are they trying to take that element away now? So you have to be completely transparent on why you've been suspended and how and why they're holding your funds.
Exactly. That's exactly right. They need to be specific, laying out the exact reasons for your suspension. None of the vagueness that you got a IP violation, suspension, or something. It's got to be very specific. What did you do wrong in their eyes, and how do you fix it? That's the goal, is to bring that level of transparency to the game. Why are they holding your money? A lot of the legislators are really concerned about the fact that Amazon just holds your money for no reason and seems to just think that it's their money until it hits your bank account. Mm-hmm. And so I like the fact that it refused to disperse funds in its possession belonging to a marketplace seller. That's a huge phrase right there, because it really does. I mean, I've seen Amazon just unwillingly just relentlessly just holding somebody's money for no reason and with no recourse. And it's basically their position that it's their money until it's your money, right?
I mean, yeah, and the other thing with that as well, let's just say you've never been suspended before. You've done quite well on the platform. You don't go through that process. A lot of if they do their own POA, which they're not actually doing, they're complaining to Amazon and moaning like, oh, you treated me badly, that's just going to get rejected out of hand. So if they're suspended your account and holding on to those funds and you didn't go through a third party, that can go on for months or forever unless you come up with the right POA. But if you don't know how to complete a POA, then you're going to make those mistakes over and over again. Therefore, the funds can be kept for God knows how long.
I mean, it's exactly. So this will bring a lot of clarity to that space and help people. And if they want to do their own POA, we might see, it'll be interesting to see how POAs will change and the need for it. I mean, will it be easy enough? I mean, right now, a lot of suspension providers, advocate for apologizing, because Amazon just requires you to be apologetic for everything, even when it's not your fault. Mm-hmm. And this will really, I think, help bring shed some fairness or apply some fairness to that, and allowing people to actually understand the nature of the problem and speak frankly to how it's going to get resolved and take the right action without, having to live in the shroud of mystery of and working with suspension folks. And like we do it. I mean, our law firm does it. I don't love the suspension business. It's really kind of an unfortunate, thing. And I always say, it's like really, we're not, trying to be another suspension firm and a myriad of suspension. There's just so many out there.
Do you know what it comes down to? I think a lot of the time, I think it attracts the wrong type of people as well in your space for that space.
Right.
Specifically for suspensions. People see that where like you're a properly fully fledged law firm, right? So you practice, you're at the bar, whatever. I don't know much about law, but you've got all of your legislation in place and everything else. But there are people come along and go, well, this is kind of easy. All you got to do is knock out a letter, charge people a fortune for it because they think that they can get away with it. Therefore, they're seeing it from the money point of view and they see it from the person's scared. They're going to lose their account. So it's a great way to get money off people. So it can attract the wrong type of people into your industry.
I think that's true in a lot of the spaces. I mean, I see that right now in the mergers and acquisition space, right? I see somebody sells their Amazon business and they think they're an expert in selling Amazon businesses. But, there's the difference between brokering a transaction and doing the legal due diligence, right? And what scares me is that there's people out there who have they don't even have college degrees that are advising sellers on how to sell their business, from a legal perspective. And it's like, you might be taking on a can of worms. Somebody was telling me that they acquired the inventory of a seller and their account, and they're not liable for all the potential back taxes or other liabilities of the company. And they clearly are unaware of continuity of business doctrines that are out there that would say, yeah, you still could be held accountable. And nobody ever told them that. And so they didn't do the appropriate due diligence that goes along with the typical buy-sell of a business. And I'm seeing, everywhere I'm seeing it. I mean, that we're just seeing a lot of people practicing law without a license. What brings us to the suspension space is just the fact that there's a lot of intellectual property related issues. IP is a legal issue, and a lot of lawyers are practicing IP law, and it's just getting a bit out of control. But it's like, at the same time, we do it out of necessity. Our clients come to us because they want help with it, and we have a great lawyer on our team who's a 7-figure seller himself, and he knows the space. Been doing it for 8 years.
There is some good firms out there. There's no disputing that. But what I'm saying is, it's one of those where it does attract those type of. It's a bit like in supplements, right? Supplements is a high margin business, high risk business. There's a lot of dirty games go on there. Not in all areas, but quite a few of the areas, and you'll find that the type of people it can attract to the type of, the green-eyed monsters who want to get in the space to make a load of money and don't necessarily have ethics in place.
Yeah, it's true. I work with amazing supplement sellers that really do play by the rules and play by the book. And then I work, I've come in contact with supplement sellers who really just aren't, I learn over time that they're just not doing what they should be doing. But, I think there's,
you count your fingers after you shake the hands.
It's just, listen, you've got attorney-client privilege. I can't go out and say, hey, what am I supposed to do? It's like my client's confidential, and it's not my place to basically, all I can do is coach them on the law and explain to them that, the way you do business is not good. Yeah. And the way you do business could be dangerous, and you're putting yourself at risk. You're putting other people at risk. And, I actually just had a seller got served with a class action letter in a supplement space because their supplements didn't measure up to the, what they claim. And so, the class action lawyers are out there. They're starting to pay attention to what we're doing. And I think that will probably bring some level of, it'll probably help shake out maybe some of the less, morally
bankrupt. I said it, not you.
It'll shake out some of those people, hopefully, because they're we're becoming targets, which is another reason why we need more legislation, because we need to be protected, but we need to be realistic about, we can't be, what's the word,
We can't have legislation to be put in place so that you can be more crooked and get away with it. The
right,
idea of the legislation is to protect good, honest business owners
right. And
to be able to trade. Yeah.
right, exactly. And so we have to come at everything with clean hands and be
Mm.
realistic. And so when we want insurance provisions, it's because we want to make sure consumers are protected, right? I mean, there's an influx of garbage coming in from sellers who are based in China who could care less about getting sued in America. And, one way they get away with it is that they don't have, Amazon doesn't enforce the insurance requirements that they supposedly have. And so, we want our consumers to be protected. So we want to make sure that if you're selling in the marketplace, you have insurance. And if you're the one person doing business in the US listening to this and you don't have insurance, I don't know what to tell you. Just, you should have insurance. I mean, it's the reality.
The legal system in the US versus UK is a lot more ferocious, isn't it? So
it's
much more covered.
We are a litigious society, as they say. We are, and that's, I think something that sellers don't understand, and then they start getting legal letters and they're like, oh my God, yeah, it's real here.
So in order to, so we don't drift here, because there's a few to go through. Let's hit number 4 now. In the marketplace permits the possibility to influence rankings or preferential placement within the marketplace of tangible personal property or services sold by the marketplace sellers. Talk me through this one. I'm trying to get clarity. Is this based on Amazon looking after themselves in the search results with their own brands?
Yeah, it's actually, it's more about buy box transparency. It's about, they're fully aware, the buy box is the ultimate search ranking, right? Like if you pop up in a buy box, right? So, we don't know. We pay for PPC. We do all sorts of things. We don't know what the impact is. They want transparency. They want to know exactly what it is that it requires to get preferential placement. They want that to be a known thing, right? Like if it's, I got to spend $20 in PPC ads or whatever, then, for X amount of top rankings, then let that be known. Sort of remove the mystery box, the shroud of secrecy behind ranking in Amazon, and that way, so sellers aren't just pouring into a system that's
I think that's going to be tough to get over the line. It's like, oh, here you go, here's access to the A9 algorithm. I don't think that's going to happen. I imagine more helpful knowledge on why you'd lose the buy box. Have you ever had that situation with sellers where they've lost the buy box purely on the fact that because they wanted to, I think when they set up, they've done merchant fulfilled without any history, they can't win the buy box on a brand new account. But then Amazon don't tell you that, and you go around for months and months, and then you send something in by FBA, then suddenly you win the buy box and you're off to the races,
Yeah, I think they're borrowing this from, I guess, whatever the EU is planning to do, and I guess that's kind of what the idea is. It'll be interesting. I thought that one was, if it passes, great. It'll be interesting to see what that will actually translate to in real world.
Yeah.
But I like that it's there. It's getting support. It was actually not one of the. It wasn't one of the most challenged ones out of, Amazon obviously opposed this legislation, but surprisingly, this was not the one that they opposed the most. And it was actually, I think it was like insurance was actually probably the biggest one.
Right.
But you're right. I'll be interested to see how this translates if this passes. And like I said, it's got a ton of support behind it, and I think it will. It'll be interesting to see how that translates into real world. Like what exactly are they going to do? But I think it does give people some transparency, at least as far as their PPC spend, like knowing this is, if you spend this much, you'll get this result, I guess. I don't know. It's really, it'll be interesting to see, but the A9 algorithm, if the government says they want it to be transparent, I don't really see how Amazon can stop them. It'll be interesting to see that.
It's got to be a fight. They've got the biggest platform out there, haven't they, in terms of marketplace? It's one. If people see what their magic sauce is, they're going to try and replicate it. Another question is that we don't know the breakdown of Google's algorithm. So why should Amazon give up theirs? So that's going to be an argument taking place there. I don't think. Judging by the amount of money Amazon now makes out of PPC, cost per clicks are going up all the time. It's a very, very profitable business for Amazon. I can't see, like, if you pay X, you'll get Y. I don't think they're going to do that unless you're looking about guaranteed conversions. But I mean, it's going to be too difficult to put that across and in a sensible way and do it in a sophisticated way. I don't know, unless they switch to, I don't use it that much, but eBay's got a model where you pay for conversion only. But right. I don't know if that's going to work with Amazon because there's too much money at stake. It wouldn't be worth their time when they're making all this money. I don't know what the jump is. People have to, off the show, go and look at the figures. But I think, wasn't it the sponsored products business went from 2 billion to 10 billion, something crazy in a jump within a year. So that's a huge amount of revenue, even for someone like Amazon. So I can't see them wanting to take that one out of play anytime soon. And no, protect that business.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, there's just going to be, I mean, it's going to shine a little more light on something, right? More light than we have. It may not, open up the whole kimono, as I say, but, I think we're going to get a little bit, people will get a little bit more of an understanding of, what they're doing, because there is sort of a mystery to the buy box. And I'm sure there are elements of it that will remain proprietary, but there might be, a few more points that we might know that, hey, these are things that will, affect your preferential placement or ranking, and just get a little bit more transparency. And right now, I think even a little bit of transparency is well appreciated, but I'm with you. I don't know how that's going to be implemented. But, I just think, there's a consensus out there that, more transparency is good. So we're going to push for it, and, we'll take what we can get and, see where it goes. But
it's something to build on, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's I want to see how that gets implemented. I'll be honest with you, that was not one that we actually pushed. That clause that came from a different, I guess it came from the EU, but it came from a different org. But I didn't oppose it. I just wasn't really like one that we at OMG were particularly concerned about. In terms of, I mean, we want buy box transparency, but we also understand that there's an algorithm, and but it was there, and why not see where it goes, right? And but it wasn't our priority concern, as far as that, because for the reasons you sort of mentioned earlier. So I don't disagree with you at all, actually, but I am excited to see, and it may change. I mean, this may change by the time it gets passed. I mean, this bill has gone through many, many iterations, and it may change again. So, and we'll talk more about that when we get to insurance, because even insurance right now is up in the air, which is something that I am passionate about. And I'd be curious to get your feedback. I'll let you know what this latest is on that when we get to that.
And so on C here, a marketplace shall not destroy products in its possession that are the property of the marketplace seller without offering the marketplace seller a reasonable opportunity to retrieve the marketplace seller's property. Now, here's one for you.
Yes.
I don't know if the stock was destroyed, but it was held. I know that there's a big thing in Germany. They're very militant on the VAT. And if my memory serves me right, last September, was it earlier in the year? It might have been beginning of the year. There was a big VAT raid and a load of stock got seized. And I'm not sure whether it got sold on or destroyed. I need to check that. But it is interesting in terms of destroying products. Because another thing you've got to look on the destroy side. I've seen it where you pay Amazon to dispose of products and they return on the listing. So they're not getting destroyed. They just get sold to a closeout company, and then the closeout company puts them out wherever they do, and some of them actually end back on Amazon. So they're not actually going through the destruction process.
So that's interesting. So what you're saying, because this is really helpful, because so what you're saying is, and I've heard of this too, people are paying, when people are paying to dispose of the products, instead of actually destroying them, Amazon just takes them and then they sell them in, warehouses.
That's right. They flog them out the back door to a closeout company of some kind, cents on the dollar or whatever it may be, very cheaply. Right. But then instead of them ending up in yard sales and God knows where, they actually end back at Amazon. Because I had a client that obviously you can track this. Going back, he's ordered the stock, and you can see that it was his stock that was from Amazon. He's discontinued stock because I think what he had is serial numbers on each unit. So that was the way that he tracked it back to his factory. So the stock he was meant to destroy wasn't destroyed. It was sold, and then it appeared back onto the listing. And then he spoke to the company that done that.
Now he opted for that dispose of as opposed to free shipping it back, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's an interesting question because I guess that was, Amazon wasn't clear on what dispose of means, right?
Yeah.
No,
if you think about the words dispose and destroy are two different things, aren't they? Yeah. Would you like us to dispose of it? Yes, we can dispose of this by taking it away and selling it to someone else, or we can destroy where we were actually breaking the product down. So yeah, good choice of words there. I didn't think about that.
Yeah. So which makes you think that, which is much probably cheaper than having them ship it back, especially if you're in the UK.
Oh, it's a lot cheaper. I think if my memory serves me right, I think it's 10 cents a unit on standard size items. And then when you ship it back in the US, it's 50, 60 cents a unit. So it is a lot cheaper to do that. And people tend to do that as well. Like when you've got end of stock and they've tried to revive it using PVC, drop the price, but they're going to get hit with quite large storage fees. This was like last year.
What you're telling me is I should start a business in the United States of destroying people's inventory for them. I should have a place where people can...
As long as you've got somewhere to sell it onto, because I can't see that being... It may be a fantastic business. I've never looked at the model.
So that people don't hijack your stuff and your products that way?
Not the hijacking bit. I mean, just actually dealing with collecting pallets of stuff and then moving it on. I mean, it may be an amazing business, but it's nothing I've ever looked at. And to me, like the thought of having a warehouse with hundreds of thousands of crap on pallets that have been rejected...
Yeah.
It doesn't warm the heart for me as a business proposition, without doubt.
No, but my saying is that, if Amazon's not offering the destroy option, if it's disposed, and you don't want that disposed in a way where all of a sudden your products are still popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
I guess maybe, for a UK company to have a place they could ship it to in the US and say, okay, we'll ship it here, California, and then destroy it.
If you're going UK to US, that can be quite expensive. So, what some people do, it depends if it's a big line, but, a lot of people do with returns. They have charities that they would send stock to, because at least something good, it goes to a home. And then what happens, the agreement is anything that is beyond repair, is too much of a defect, like outside of the packaging or whatever.
Yeah.
Then destroy it. And that would be their thank you, if you like, because basically getting all these products for free, they can distribute it internally in the charity. But what they're also doing is the ones that are not workable or usable, they will then dispose of accordingly.
I have a lot of contacts at Goodwill. I wonder if I should get them in the game of accepting sellers' disposals.
That's a good idea. We can put that information into the show notes as well.
Yeah, because I could ask that, because it seems like that would be a good move for them as a nonprofit business that specializes in disposing of people's crap. I mean, I'm sure you've been to a Goodwill store in the U.S., right? I mean, they're absolutely crazy stuff in there, and I wonder if they would be interested in getting into that space of having like a safe harbor where you can send all your stuff, and then they sell it through the Goodwill website, not through Amazon or whatever.
That's true. It's still going to be the same price if you pulled it and sent it to yourself. And don't forget, as opposed to the UK, the US has got a lot more FBA centres and it's more spread out. So what happens when you record them 2,000 units, they may come between 2 to 6, 7 facility centres in dribs and drabs in really shit packaging, because it doesn't often go into Amazon in your nice boxes. It doesn't always come out the same way.
Yeah, I know. I pulled inventory from FBA last year when they did the free removal, because I was dabbling in FBA just for kicks, just on retail arbitrage stuff. More just, because I just wanted to experience FBA, so I bought a bunch of crap at Walmart and shipped it in. And, when they told me what the fees were going to be, and then I had a free removal, I just get this stuff out of there.
Yeah.
And it was funny. It would just come in like boxes were just piling up in my house for like different days. Like, really, and it would be like a giant Amazon box for like, I don't even know, like a, small item, like something like this or something. Like it would, be this ginormous box, and it'd be like totally out of proportion. What an experience it was. And I'd just be sitting there opening boxes to probably pull out like, I don't know,
2 units.
$100 worth. Yeah, it's like nothing, or like a couple dollars worth of inventory. So it's a fascinating business model. I'm not sure it fully makes sense all the way yet, but we'll get there. I mean, but they're working on it. I think they're trying to clear out their warehouses. I think they're just full at this point. They're bursting at the seams.
So moving on to the next one, a marketplace will require marketplace sellers to purchase and maintain liability insurance to cover claims by customers related to services or tangible personal property. I read somewhere the other day, someone's trying to put that on Amazon and be the responsibility. I may be wrong. Of the market.
We are, and that's been a discussion, and I think that's probably where we're going to go with this, because I've had numerous discussions with multiple lobbyists in this who are working on this bill. I mean, this is not just us. We were the lead witness on this bill yesterday,
right?
But we're not by no means the only ones backing this. This is a very well. I could actually go through, if you want. I can pull up the report and tell you who's behind it, who's not, and but basically, yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of what we're talking about, selling with a moral conscience. I mean, Amazon has case after case denied any product liability, which in the U.S. is a big deal, because in the U.S. you don't actually have to be at fault to be held liable in products cases. You actually, so for example, if you buy a hoverboard at Walmart and the hoverboard catches on fire, Walmart can still be liable for the damages of the hoverboard, even though it really wasn't their fault. They didn't make the hoverboard. It's not, if they didn't drop it in their warehouse or anything, it was just purely defective product. Our law says we don't care. We'll hold anybody involved in it as strictly liable for damages, and then it would be on whoever the consumer can collect from, right? Which most likely would be Walmart, because they're the U.S. company and the hoverboard manufacturer might be in China. Then it's between Walmart and the manufacturer or whoever else is involved to find out who's at fault and reclaim the money. But from the consumer side, right, if a bottle of Coke blows up in your hand, you can sue Coke, you can sue Walmart, you can sue whomever involved in that transaction. That's what we call strict product liability. There's just, the product just was, caused harm. You don't have to prove who was at fault. You don't have to prove the technical cause. You just have to prove that there was a harm, right? It's sort of like it speaks for itself, right? Like, Coke bottles should not be blowing up in people's hands, right? So I don't really have to prove which particular part of the manufacturing process caused that to happen. All I have to do is prove that I bought a bottle of Coke at Walmart. It blew up in my hand. I can sue Walmart.
Yeah. And
that's it. And that's powerful. But Amazon has been circumventing their role in that by sort of claiming that whole market, their marketplace. And, I was just at the Seller Fest, Augustus event in Tel Aviv, and I went to Jerusalem for the day. And now I walked through a real marketplace. And that, to me, is a marketplace. Amazon, use of the term marketplace on Amazon is a bit misleading. I don't like the word lately, because it's becoming one of these things where, is Amazon really a marketplace, or are they really a retailer? And this is with the tax question too. We deal with this, right? I mean, is selling on Amazon akin to walking through the markets like in Jerusalem, where every person you're dealing with the individual party, or is everyone really just dealing with Amazon like in a traditional retail setting?
Yeah.
And I find it to be the latter. That really the consumers don't oftentimes know us. They might know our brand, right, if we're a private label seller, but I mean, especially if you're buying like retail arbitrage goods, I mean, like, people have no idea who they're buying from. They don't pay attention. And even when they're buying your private label product, they think of that as buying your product, not your store, right? They still think they're buying from Amazon, right? It's still that in their mind, it's, Amazon checkout, Amazon this, Amazon everything. And so to say that, hey, we're, to be that involved in the transaction, to control the customer service, to have control of the customer, right? Because we don't have customers, right? Amazon keeps us from having customers. It sort of seems disingenuous that Amazon can then just say, oh, but we're also a flea market at the same time and not responsible for all the things that traditional retailers are responsible for, right? Yeah. I mean, it's just disingenuous. And it sort of violates this principle of substance over form, that, in substance, Amazon acts like any other retailer on the internet or in real life, and therefore they should be held accountable as such. But they've been arguing in court cases involving product liability, that they're just a marketplace and they're not accountable. And they've had some wins, but this recent decision at the Pennsylvania Court of Appeals, Third Circuit, is huge. The court was very focused on Amazon's involvement in the transaction, and found that no, Amazon could be held accountable like a traditional retailer.
This is part of this section E, is it? For purposes of this section, marketplace means a physical or electronic place included but not limited to a store, booth, internet website, catalog, television or radio broadcast, or a dedicated sales software application where a marketplace sells, sellers or offers for sale service or tangible personal property for delivery in this state, regardless of whether the tangible personal property or the marketplace has a physical presence in the state. So this goes back to the situation of sales tax, isn't it?
Yeah, they borrowed that from the marketplace legislation, most likely. So, but I mean, again, this is changing. The insurance was objected to by Amazon because, their argument is, hey, how does small sellers sell on Amazon? I mean, we can't expect the occasional seller, a person who's just, selling textbooks to have insurance, right? Mm-hmm. And we did make a point of saying that it should be for the pro account users, right? That if you're doing less than, whatever, 10,000, there should be a threshold. But, the other thing, now that we're speaking, maybe the other thing is, the question is, what the product are they selling? Are they selling, are they selling a product that's commonly sold in retailers? I mean, they're trying to figure it out. I think the answer at the end of the day is that Amazon just needs to be held liable for product liability, and then they'll self-regulate how insurance is going to work on their marketplace. Because regardless of whether Amazon's responsible or not, I mean, we're all indemnifying Amazon when we sign up for Seller Central. So if something happens where Amazon's held liable for the product damages, they theoretically have recourse against you to go after you for that. So I mean.
Yeah. Do you want to just mention, I know we talked off call, not today, but before, where you said, do you realize what you're signing up to when you sign up for Seller Central? Like what rights that you're giving up? I mean, briefly explain, we can do a full show on that, but.
Yeah, no, I don't think a full show. I mean, no, I mean, I think it's pretty simple. It's just, you're basically, oftentimes waiving your core legal rights, right? I mean, when Amazon does bad things and you want to sue them, you can't. You have to go through what's called arbitration, and that's pretty limited, relief for you from a legal perspective. You're going through a private arbitrator, not the court, and you're waiving your right to file class action lawsuits. I mean, these are the weapons that lawyers
just lost
use.
your sound, Paul.
Oh, how about now?
There you go. That's great.
Okay. Yeah, so you're waiving your rights to basically taking traditional legal action, which gives Amazon a huge leg up. That's why I find oftentimes Amazon doesn't care when you're dealing with them, because when you've signed away your rights to take, to certain legal remedies that traditionally we have in life, they have all the cards at that point. So the arbitration provision is probably the most powerful one, because, when Amazon takes your money, or they do this and they do that, right? You want to be like, well, I want to sue them. And people always ask me, well, why can't we file a class action lawsuit against Amazon? I said, well, because you signed your right away. Right. I work with some of the best class action lawyers in the country, and really they're just, the status of what we call arbitration in the United States is such that, courts are upholding arbitration provisions. And so nobody's really keen on wanting to take risk on a legal case against Amazon, because Amazon is a fierce opponent, and they have arbitration provisions that a lot of lawyers feel like the courts are going to uphold it when it comes to the sellers. So they're not, willing to risk millions of dollars of their firm's money to try to win a case. But, maybe someday somebody will, and we'll see what happens. But I find that oftentimes is a driver for why, when you deal with Amazon as an insider, and I call an insider somebody who signed the agreements, you find the response to be kind of meh, not usually that effective. But you notice, like, when you get infringing notices from outsiders, people who have not been dealing with Amazon, so like a third-party brand is saying that you're infringing, Amazon acts quickly, right?
Yeah.
So, there's definitely a difference of behavior that I've noticed over the last 2 years or so, where it seems like it's better to be an outsider when you're trying to get Amazon to do something in terms of like the infringement space, especially. But, that's sort of another story about how to protect your IP, and we could definitely talk about that in a separate occasion. But yeah, I mean, you just should know that. Again, part of the first provision is transparent language. If Amazon steals your idea, what are your remedies? None, because you've signed those away, right? I mean, you really do give up a lot when you sell through the marketplace, and so we try to work around it with different structures and things that might help sellers retain their legal rights, but still be able to do business on Amazon at the same time through multi-tiered corporate structures and stuff like that. But that's for another day.
Cool. So last one I want to check on here. Can you break this down for me? Number is G. For purposes of this section, ranking means the relative prominence given to the tangible personal property or services offered to consumers through a marketplace as organized or communicated to those consumers by the marketplace, irrespective of the technological means used for that organization or communication. I don't even understand any of that. What does that actually mean?
I don't know. I have a feeling that was probably borrowed from the EU. I'm not sure. It basically means that, relative prominence. So basically like rank, level of visibility, right? Mm-hmm. Given to tangible personal property, your object, your thing, right? A tangible personal property is what you're selling, right?
Yep.
So, the relative visibility of so basically, the visibility of your product offered to consumers as organized or communicated to those consumers by the marketplace, mm-hmm. irrespective of technological means. So I think it's just basically saying at the end of the day, if you do X, it goes back to our earlier conversation. It's basically saying this is how you will, if you spend this much money here or you do this, then you will be this visible to the consumer.
Okay.
I don't know. If
you're what they're saying is they're tying a price to your ranking. Like if you pay X, this is where it'll get you. Going back to what we said about PPC, which I believe won't work.
Right.
Because it's just too complex to try and go down that road.
Yeah, and it'll get ironed out. I mean, it may end up being one of those things where, in implementation, maybe this law gets challenged and maybe that's one that gets mm-hmm. challenged. We'll see. I mean, I think, like I said, it's there. It was important, and to some of the people involved that was there. And I'm not saying it wasn't important to OMG, but it's, we're listen, I mean, we're not trying to, we understand that our sellers make money from Amazon. We're not here to take down Amazon or anything like that. We're just trying to bring fairness to it. And that honestly was not, I think a little bit of buy box transparency could be helpful. I mean, a little bit of understanding why, like you said, why did I lose a buy box? Or like you said, merchant fulfilled doesn't get the buy box, or something of that nature. But, we'll see how it goes. I'm not opposed to it. I'm always pro transparency. So we'll just see how it implements. And, Amazon may come back and make an argument that it's vague and impossible to comply with, or, involves disclosure of proprietary technology. I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But
the conversation's being had. There's something there to work upon and build upon. Yeah.
This law is by no means perfect and by no means, the best law, but it's the first of its kind. And that's why it's amazing. It's just that it's happening, right? Yeah. It's what we said. It's what the original purpose of Online Merchants Guild is, stuff like this. It's like having a seat at the table on laws that affect us, right? Because if we weren't there, in fact, let me pull this up real quick, if you don't mind.
No.
I want to pull up, because I don't want people to understand who was involved, because I think that's important, and maybe that will help you. Not that.
Help me understand. Hope the listeners understand as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, so who supports this bill? Working Partnerships USA. What is Working Partnerships USA? Probably some political group that has some agenda. Mm-hmm. Inequality and poverty by leading collaborative campaigns for quality jobs. I don't even know. That sounds genuine. It could, for all we know, it could be the Koch brothers. I mean, these organizations, we have no idea who they are. What their agenda. It could be Walmart. It could be anybody. We don't know. I mean, it's a lot of these coalitions get formed. You have to dig deep and find out who they are, and we're not going to do that today. But my point is, I don't know who that is. I don't know. I don't think any seller's ever heard of them. I don't know what their interest in the seller community is, what their agenda is. California Conference of Machinists. Okay. So they're California machinists. Maybe they don't like what we do because they don't like how Amazon's been so successful bringing in stuff from China, and maybe that's why they support anything that goes against Amazon. California Grocers Association. So, California Teamsters, Consumer Federation of California. Okay, that makes sense. Consumer Federation of California protecting consumers. Engineers and Scientists of California, Inland Boatmen's Union of Pacific, Online Merchants Guild, Professional Technical Engineers, Unite Here, United Food and Commercial Workers, Unity Workers of America, a lot of unions. Who opposes this? Amazon, not surprising. California Chamber of Commerce. Chambers of Commerce oppose all regulation. CompTIA represents the technology interests, technology companies' interests in California, Internet Association, TechNet, right? So out of any of these groups that I just mentioned, who, if it wasn't for Online Merchants Guild, who would actually be representing us?
Yeah.
In this bill here?
Yeah.
Nobody. And that's kind of the point. It's like, this is really important. Not one organization other than Online Merchants Guild actually knows anything about what's going on in the Amazon world. They all have their own agendas. They serve retailers who don't like Amazon because Amazon's eating their lunch every day. And this is how they, want to get back by regulating Amazon. And it's great that we're aligned and we have support, but, just be clear that there'll be moments in time where they might push for things that aren't good for us, and somebody's got to be on the lookout.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important. Like the Online Merchants Guild, it's such an important concept that needs to really grow. And I love being a part of it, but it's really, we've really got to think about taking it to the next level, because this is just the first step. I mean, this is one state's law. It's a very early first time go at this type of thing, but we still got 49 other states, the federal government. I mean, somebody's got to be there for this. Somebody's got to be representing us, or else, we
won't make any progress.
Right. You have the grocery division, grocers making our decisions for us. The Grocers Association. I mean, it's crazy.
Cool. So look, we've covered quite a lot of ground here. So let's wrap here. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Sure. So if you want to support Online Merchants Guild, just go to onlinemerchantsguild.org, onlinemerchantsguild.org, join, support. I will say, Danny, we're really looking for people to get involved right now. I'm really looking for people to get involved both on a financial, but also we need volunteers. We need people. I mean, our organization is very, very new still, and we're still in an infancy stage, but we need to stock our board up with smart people. We need smart leadership. We need people who can offer technological resources, get our website up and running, people who can help us develop benefits plans so that we can incentivize people to join and get, discounts and things like that. There's so much work that needs to be done. Mm-hmm. I love working on the advocacy side, but, there's no way I can do that and, run a website and run an incentive program, but we need it. So don't just think about supporting us financially. Think about supporting us by getting involved. If you have developers on your team that work, ask, if you can dedicate a couple hours of their time to help us with our WordPress and WooCommerce and get us up to, make us better so we can communicate better. These are all things we could use help with. So think about that. And if you're interested in getting involved in the leadership of the organization, we're definitely looking for board members to sort of take us to the next level, in a post-tax world. And then, obviously the law firm, if you have any need for legal help, we do law stuff as well at e-com attorneys. But just to be clear that is separate, that, I have a law practice that is totally separate from Online Merchants Guild. And Online Merchants Guild is, if you think about it, is more advocating for the group, but we cannot advocate for the individuals.
Well, it's non-for-profit, is it? You do all the work for nothing on that. That's not even a side hustle. That's a side support thing.
Not a dime. I won't even, and part of the reason why the website's so crap, and I apologize for that, is that I won't spend money on developers. Like I told everybody when they signed up, like, your money, with the exception of like whatever the cost of like web hosting and
Mm.
WordPress and all that crap. I'm like, I'm not going to be spending major dollars on anything other than legal costs to get results for
Yeah.
sellers. And that's what we're doing. So, and I'm committed to that, which is why we need help
Yeah.
in the form of volunteers who can offer services and things that will help us grow. But it's
Cool.
now,
We'll give the audience the details so they know how to reach you then. So what's the best way to reach out if they want to, obviously they go to the website. What's the best email for you if they've got questions, etc., or they want to get involved in terms on a volunteer level as well?
yeah, if you want to get involved, it's paul@onlinemerchantguild.org. You can email me and let me know what you can do and how you want to get involved. And I think we're going to start collecting names and then set up a meeting and really just kind of take our organization to the next level, because it's got to happen. We need that. So paul@onlinemerchantguild.org.
And then general information on the website, sign up as a member.
Just onlinemerchantguild.org. And then, like I said, if you need, I mean, if you have legal questions that are specific to you, you can reach out to us at ecomattorneys.com. But that's again, separate and distinct from Online Merchants Guild.
Cool.
Look forward to hearing from you folks and having more people get involved.
Excellent. Guys, thanks for joining us. Paul, thank you for joining us. I look forward to getting you back soon.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
No worries. If this is your first time, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you again in the next few days. Take care.